Welcome to Still Growing in Grace, a program dedicated to inspiring joy, giving hope, and delighting in grace. I'm Mike Zenker, and I'll be sharing with you a message of hope that will expand your understanding of God's love and amazing grace. God already deeply loves you, totally accepts you, and really, really likes you. Growing in Grace Ministries Canada and Hope Fellowship, your community church, invite you to enjoy today's program as we dig deeper into what it means to be still growing in grace. Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Still Growing Grace. Get your coffee. I got mine. Certain mugs are lovely, and I love this mug from Starbucks. It's one of their larger ones, but I used to call this program Grounds and Grace, Coffee Grounds. And now I have a small group instead that meets in person with that name. So the Still Growing Grace has been a lot of fun. I've been doing this for almost 2 years. Today's episode 136. The program we're going to air today is someone else's podcast. I'm hijacking their podcast and showing it in mine, but I asked permission. So Paul Gray, a friend to this program, did an interview with me a week or two ago, whatever, and he just aired part one the other day, and I asked if I could share it here with you because I thought it was fun. It's great, and then it's nice to not have to duplicate material. If somebody else is recording one, great, let's reshare it. And this isn't about having only original stuff. This is about sharing with one another. Supporting and lifting each other up. And I love that. I love that about the people that have come on this program. Every single person we've had on here has been a delight. And I have a list of a few others that I'm adding on, hoping to get them on soon. But again, this takes time. If you don't know what work goes into a podcast, into a video prep of a program like this, well, let's just say it's a lot more work than anyone will tell you. It takes a lot more time and hours than anyone thought. It's not just turn it on the computer and then boom, talk, and then you're done. See? No, not at all. Yeah, there's a lot more. It's pretty cool. And the learning curve is pretty wild. Hey, Sandy, good morning. Sandy, I sent out a shout out to you, I think last week or the week before. I would love to connect on Facebook and see if I could interview you for Still Growing Grace and introduce you to our community as well, because you're in the UK, and I would love to get to know you guys because you tune in all the time, and I think you're part of a church too. So if you're game, please message me back. You can even write in the comments because I can read them while we're doing this because we're live. Anyway, let's get into this. Today's conversation with Paul Gray. He has a podcast called Grace to All. The description below is a copy and paste from his. So I didn't make up the stuff, but this is something he wanted to talk about. I think there's two parts to the conversation. Today is only part one. So join in. It's not very long. I think it's like half an hour, which is, I'm trying to stay to the 30-40 minute mark and doesn't always work, but oh well. So, hey, let's dive in. I'm watching with you, and hopefully you'll be encouraged by what you hear today. Let me get this ready, and here we go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Grace to All with Paul Gray. Today, I have my friend Mike Zenker with me, and many of you know Mike. Those of you who don't, you're in for a treat today. This interview is number 354 in my podcast YouTube series. I first interviewed Mike. It was interview number 16. So that was over 3 years ago.
That's top 20.
Yeah, top 20, no kidding. Top 16. Yeah, along with, I finished in the top 90% of my class. I don't know if you were aware of that or not.
I rarely showed up, so.
Think about that now, top 90%. So at any rate, Mike and I.
Oh, that took me a moment. That's awful. This is what kind of talk we're going to have. Oh.
Yeah. Well, Mike and I have had the privilege of being together in person since then, and doing lots of interviews back and forth. And just to say up front, the inspiration for my new book, Grace to All, which Mike has a copy of. He bought it through Amazon Canada.
Two.
We bought two through Amazon Canada. And they're available, of course, Amazon and in a lot of different countries now. But the inspiration for the book actually came from an interview that I heard Mike do with two of his close friends who are also buddies of mine, Bill Thrasher and Richard Murray. And they were talking. I listened to all of Mike's interviews. I don't hear many of them live, but within a little while after he posted them. But this particular one, they were talking about, they wish there was a way that they could connect, or that somebody could connect like-minded people who are, it's hard to come up with a name to describe us, and I don't really want to, but I would say it's people who have who are had the understanding that God is pure love and pure light, and has grace for and includes all people. And Jesus finished work at the cross, finished everything for everybody. So, you know, we all have somewhat different takes on how that happened and what happens in the end times and all that kind of stuff. But those of us who are on that track, how could we connect each other? And one of the questions that I've had, and I think maybe, well, one of you three said it in that interview, that a big question that you often got is there anybody within 100 miles of where I live who is on this same journey?
Yep.
And well, a big part of the book is how to connect people with somebody who might well be within 100 miles of them, or at least that they would resonate with and would connect with. And I as hard as it is for me to realize, some people might connect easier with a fun, good-looking, humorous guy in Canada than somebody who might be the opposite of that in the middle of the United States.
It.
So at any rate, Mike, thanks again for being here. And when somebody gets the book, looks at page 181 and reads about you, what are they gonna find when they connect with you, start listening to you? Maybe they live down the block from you. What are they going to find that you're all about when they run into Mike Zenker?
That's a loaded question. Again, I've grown up in the church. I've been a pastor for 32 years. So you're supposed to try and sell yourself to grow your ministry. Well, the last number of years, I've learned that is not the case. It's not about self-promotion. It's actually about resting, being, and loving who's in front of you. And it took some hurtful things and processes for me to actually see that. And I continue to unlearn that platform mentality. Instead, now I'm having a little more fun connecting with others who are questioning those answers that religion or church has given them. They've been given the answers, but they've never been given the permission to question them. So all I can offer now is, hey, I can just show you the journey I'm on. I'm not going to get into whether this is right and that's right, who's wrong, that teacher's wrong, this, you know, that just creates division. So because different stages of your growth, you're going to see your theology one way, but within a year or two, you may mature differently and somebody else may not, and see different things, which we call it the body of Christ. So what I'm hoping to do is become a place where people can rest, they can heal from being hurt and burned by the church, and it's safe to ask questions. I'm talking any questions. Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Is LGBTQ okay or not? I just had somebody ask me that the other day, and I had a very interesting answer back, which I'm not going to answer today because that's not the point. The point is, how are we seeing Jesus? And if we make certain topics our hobby horse, we then exclude immediately. We think we're doing inclusion, but we're doing exclusion because now we're highlighting a certain topic when really whoever comes to my church, everyone's included. I don't care what stripe you are, what color you are, what painful circumstance you're in, what status in society you're in. This is about loving who is there and not trying to be more right. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like that's what my hope is, versus having always correct doctrine, correct, because I've been growing, maturing, mine's been changing. So just
Yeah.
I don't put it out there on, here's my statement of faith. Well, that's great. That'll come back to bite you.
Yeah. One of the things that we did a few years ago with our group, our fellowship, we did away with their statement of faith. We did away with our article. We still have
but that doesn't mean you don't believe certain things, right?
Oh, of course not. No,
right.
That's exactly right.
It just means it's not set in stone. You're teachable.
Yeah, we did away with committees. We did away with all doctrine. I mean, all of that stuff. And you said the question, is that okay? It reminded me of we used to, at our church, we used to play when we had a big horn band, with several horns and trumpets, trombones, saxophones, and rhythm section and singers and stuff. We used to do a Doobie Brothers thing called Jesus is Just All Right.
Jesus is just all right. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And it made me think of when somebody asks, is that okay? My new answer is going to be, well, Jesus is okay. And that's all that matters.
Hey, do you remember this TV show that's it's these detective cops in England? They're retired and they have to go find and they do cold cases. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
But their theme song, it's all right, it's okay, doesn't really matter if you're old and gray, it's all right. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I gotta send that to you.
I can relate. Yeah.
Oh man.
But I think that, without going off on a rabbit trail, which you probably already have, it goes back to the tree of good and evil.
Bingo.
Yeah, just don't even go to that tree.
It's the wrong tree.
We go to the Jesus tree, the tree of life, and Jesus is just all right. Just meaning not limited to, but that's just what he is. He's all right.
Well, when most people ask a question like that, either privately in a Facebook message or something like that, often I will say, that's a really big question. And outside of a relationship, I can't answer that, not without being afraid you'll hear it wrong, or you have already a prescribed belief and you're trying to find out if I fit yours or mine. I'm not here for that. I'm here to have an honest question or a conversation about how are we seeing God bigger and better. That's what Bruce Walkup said in his What is the Gospel series. If it doesn't make God bigger and better, it's not the gospel.
Yeah, that's good. You can see I'm taking notes. Outside of relationship, I can't answer that question. That's good.
It's gotta be trust.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put my answers out there for people I don't trust. They'll kill it. They'll slash it and twist it to mean something I didn't mean. So forget it.
Yeah. Well, I think you've given people a good beginning of what they're going to experience when they, when they look you up, when they
they're going to experience good coffee. That's what they'll experience. That's right. I forgot about that.
How do you? I haven't yet figured out how do you do that online. I've been working on that.
Well, I have it here in person. I got really good coffee.
And what do you have?
I have a fair trade Ethiopian, which is a medium dark, and I have a fair trade femenina, which is a Peruvian lighter, medium light blend, which is harvested by women. So it supports the women's trade. And then I have a Colombian medium. And so those three blends, fair trade, are really nice. And then I take the Ethiopian and the femenina, mix them together, and it's called Grace Infusion. It's an incredible blend.
Did you name it Grace Infusion? Wow. Hey, send me a link to those, will you? Where I can get them. You can't?
You have to buy them from Toronto.
Really?
Yep. Long story. I might send you some.
Well, I might just have to come there and get some. Yeah, the Kansas City Royals were in Toronto last week. Why didn't I go?
Oh, that was a tough series.
Anyway. What do you mean? You won 3-1.
Oh, okay.
3 games out of 4.
Oh, okay. Oops.
Yeah.
I watched the one they lost.
Yeah. Boy, isn't that how things get translated? Oh, well. Okay. So back to connecting people. Have you been asked that question? Is there, from people that you interact with online, is there anybody within 100 miles of where I live?
All the time. Yep. And for some that are pretty far away, I've had people say, hey, can you be our pastor? It's like, well, I don't want to be your pastor, but you can jump on and become part of this Hope Fellowship family from being afar. And COVID has expanded who we are as a family. We got folks watching in England. We got in the States, Alabama, Texas, you name it. Like it's crazy where people are watching from across Canada, different places, Sorrento, BC, Moncton, New Brunswick. It if it's going to connect, it's going to connect, and you can't over promote it. Otherwise it looks like you're self-promoting and thinking you're bigger than you are. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to share, and I'll connect with who God wants me to connect with. And when the message or theme or topic is right for somebody that needs to hear it, they'll tune in or watch the video later or whatever. So I think that's been a fun thing, you know, like if you are far away, if I happen to know somebody that's nearby, try that teacher over there. They do a Bible study. They don't have a church, but they have a Bible study. My buddy Scott in St. Catharines, you know, he's spoken at my church twice recently. He's got a small house church. You know, he doesn't have big teaching ministry, but he's a great teacher. And so, you know, down the States, hey, you got somebody nearby, you go visit them, encourage them. It doesn't have to be the traditional got to go to church every week. This is more about, this is who I want to connect with for the time I'm on right now, for the journey I'm on now. This is the group. It doesn't have to be lifetime. We've had people come and go. They've used Hope Fellowship as a stepping stone church, and they said that, but it was a blessing for the time they were here, but now they moved on, and it's great. It's like, great. We're not trying to grow the church. It's his church, not ours.
I agree, Mike. And I think in part, in, you know, everything Jesus said had multiple meanings, but I think in part when he said, you're going to do even greater things, you know, than I, at least to me, in part, we're doing greater things now because we're able to reach more people through the internet, and not just with one-time things, but people can Google you and look at a whole list of topics of videos and click on one that they're interested in. And you know, Jesus couldn't do that when he was here on earth because there was no internet and he was limited to time and space. I mean, you know, he chose to do that. So it's not that we're doing things better or greater than Jesus did. We're doing something that wasn't able to be done at that time because technologically we weren't there yet. So to me, it's a great time to be alive because of technology, and it's a great time to you know, be able to interact with people like we're doing right now.
I think that some folks have taken that "we'll do greater things" too far, and I've seen the focus is on doing greater. I can do greater. It totally misses the boat. It's like, this isn't about you. This is about Jesus. You know, don't try to help him out. I think that's half the problem. You know, we see the fun fruit and go, I want that, or that spiritual gift, I want that one. But nobody wants to do the serving gift, which is what Jesus did, by the way. Nobody wants to do the not so fun and recognized ones. They want the ones that'll give recognition. That's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, well, it is. It is indeed. So you teach one of your podcasts is Growing in Grace. Your church is called
Still Growing in Grace is the podcast.
Still Growing in Grace, New Hope Fellowship. And like any teacher, you have a variety of things that you teach on for whatever the Spirit's leading you to at the moment. What are you teaching right now? What do you have envision coming up in the future? What's on your heart?
I've been focusing for the last 2 years on finding encouragement in the small things. Stop looking at yourself. Stop complaining. Look for ways to be thankful. How do we find hope in difficult times? That kind of a theme has been the last 2 years, on and off and wherever. Where I'm hoping to hit this September is I want to start revisiting the foundations of what I call grace teaching. And let's revisit it. Let's repackage it. Or how have we matured since the last time we first heard it, which is like almost 20 years ago? Has the terminology changed? It has. Has the meaning changed? Maybe not as much, but it's matured. And so I think there's deeper and wider that we can do. And folks that didn't even hear some of the basics, which I think are critical, they need to hear some of those foundations again. And to some who've heard it before, it's going to be, I never heard that before. Yes, you did. Like, it's really funny. It's like bringing a guest speaker into your church, like they'll say stuff and everybody's going to go, wow, never heard that. And I'm thinking, yes, you did last week. And, but it's another voice, another person saying it from another personality, another tone, another experience. That's why the body of Christ needs to be networked. And we've talked about networking and connecting, hence your book.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm hoping this fall to do that. And then we have a conference that I'm toying with in November. I talked to you about briefly on identity. What is identity? So that we'll leave that there because more to come on that one.
It's I think it's a great revelation to me, and I think it's something that the Spirit wants us all to understand this concept, which is in the very title of your podcast, Still Growing in Grace.
Because none of us have arrived, right?
None of us have arrived. And to even, how arrogant to even think that we've got God figured out, let alone ourselves, let alone anyone else. But one of the things that has just, I won't use the term amazed because I'm never amazed anymore, but what God does. But one of the blessings that are new every morning are just seeing today that God is even better than I thought he was yesterday. And along, I mean, that in itself is just amazing. But
again, this is your expectation. If you're living from an expectation that, I know God, you are not going to have your eyes open to anticipate and be ready to hear or see good things going on around you. You think you've arrived. Like, you need that surprise, right?
Well, you do. Yeah. And to have the mindset of, I've got it all down now. I just want to, I want to listen to more teachers who agree with me and, confirmation bias type of stuff instead of, our friend Don Keithley is really good about, and he did this in his message Sunday, really good about saying, read wide, just read, listen to all kinds of things and take the stuff that the Spirit shows you is for you and let the other stuff go. But, don't be afraid that you're going to be misled or you're going to listen to a false spirit or something like that. And I think his words were the Holy Spirit's more powerful than
I say he's big enough to get your attention. So it's not up to you to stay in line. It's the Holy Spirit to guide and direct you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, just gosh, the people that you and I have, and the other people that are in this book that we've come across, if we'd have stayed in the group that we were in before we started on this journey, we would have been taught not to listen to most of these folks. And gosh, what we would have missed. So being open, and then again, I think as Paul says in 2 Corinthians 5, test the spirits, hang on to that which is good and let the rest go. So,
I'm amazed at what I'm still learning and unlearning. And I thought I've unlearned a lot. But I know there's more. My own little comfort zones are being challenged occasionally. It's like, okay, don't be so dogmatic. Don't be so quick to answer your opinion. It's like, okay, I never saw that before. Well, then admit it. Say, okay, I haven't seen that perspective before. Or when you suggest a perspective, say, here's how I'm seeing it now, instead of this is right, that's wrong. This is the true gospel. Like, how people say this is the true gospel? I'm thinking, don't use that language because you now set people apart. You now divide people because theirs is clearly not the true gospel because yours is the true. But 144,000 different denominations can't all be wrong, can they? Like, it's just wording matters. And we talked about that briefly about another topic, another word, right? Our language matters. And I'm still learning.
Oh, I am too. Gosh, I think back to the thing that really triggered my search for something else was, and I won't go into this at length, but in my music career, I had bought into the lie that once I reached a certain level, that would be it, and I would be fulfilled. And so I reached that level, and I was still empty. I was still looking for something else. Well, that journey led me to the journey that I'm on now with Christ. But that was over 30 years ago, and I think we can easily, as human beings, fall into the trap of, well, yeah, that happened to me in my career or my marriage or my relationships or whatever. But now I'm going to reach this level spiritually where that's it, and I've arrived and I've got it all. And no, to think that we could ever reach that. I think it's in Ephesians 2, that Paul says, and it's going to take all the ages to come for God to reveal his grace to us. I mean, that's not a direct quote, but something like that.
Well, it kind of goes in the face of people who say, well, when I die and go to heaven, I'll know all the answers. Oh, no, you won't. You're not God. So we're still going to learn and grow. It's just, we're not going to have as many clogs in the filter, right? Or as many, they'll be gone. Like when people pass away and they cross over, whatever that is, that they're going to see with heavenly eyes, not the earthly ones that hinder us. Your pure light walker stuff behind you there just reminded me of that. Now, there's a pure light that will come in, and it's going to be very different. So in the same way, you're going to keep learning and growing.
That's a good transition place, Mike. Let's, with your permission,
sure,
let's wrap up this episode, and then you and I'll take a short break, and then we'll record one that people will hear a little bit later. But let's talk about what heaven is. And where it is and what it's not. I don't have the answers to this, but I'm confident you do.
No,
so,
I
don't. so for everybody listening, that's what we'll talk about next week. Now, for everybody listening, if you have a copy of our new book, Grace to All, you know how to get a hold of Mike. But in case you don't have that copy yet, Mike, tell people how they can contact you.
Look me up on YouTube, Mike Zenker. Or on Facebook, Mike Zenker, or my church is hopefellowshipycc.com, or Growing in Grace Ministries Canada website. I think that's the website address, growingingrace.ca. So we're all connected. Like the Wednesday morning teaching ministry, Still Growing Grace, is we're tied at the hip with Hope Fellowship. Two separate ministries, but they're still together. So that's how.
Great. All right. And I can tell people they will not be disappointed. And, you and I talked earlier about it's not all about building our own ministry. I have absolutely no qualms in telling people to listen to you. My own wife would rather listen to you than me.
You got to say hi to her.
So, all right. Hey, Mike, thank you. We'll be back next week. Thanks to all of you who've been with us for this edition of Grace to All with Paul Gray. We will see you all next week.
Oh man, I hope you enjoyed that. That was fun. Paul is such a great guy. And some of you may not realize he's a really good musician. So yes, I saw him play in person in Florida. He brought his trumpet. But it was a different kind of trombone, but he has a trombone that doesn't have the slide out. He's got a trombone with the valves. It's like, no way, that's cool. Totally different sound. Loved listening to him play. Wow. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. The conversation about church is an interesting one. I came across a meme this morning or yesterday. I love this. Tell me if this hits you. I can't share it on here because I wasn't prepared to do that because the software I'm using to stream. I got to do this really quick. But here's what it says. Know the difference between those who stay to feed the soil and those who come to grab the fruit. Know the difference between those who stay to feed the soil and those who come to grab the fruit. That really made me think. I might even share that on Sunday, because sometimes as a church, you just want people to come, and you'll do anything to make people feel welcome, and you'll just bow, and which is fine. But there are also takers that come with ulterior motives. And I've been doing pastoral ministry for 32 years now. This October marks year 33 start. That's a long time. But I've seen patterns. I've learned. I've had my own mistakes of how I've cared for people or not. Hey, Jim, good to see you there, buddy. And Sandy, thank you. Sandy says it was really cool. Loved it. Thanks. I hope you got mine. Did you hear me talk about you, Sandy? I hope so. Anyway, send me a message. But this whole church thing, do we have to go to church? No, you don't. We are the church. But I really believe God's going to connect you with other believers that are at a similar place in the journey as you, to encourage you. If you're waving a flag that says, nah, I don't have to go to church anymore, that's also unhealthy. It's just revealing a place where you're at, and that's okay. But we got to be careful not to shove it in people's faces, including those that still go to church or find value, or many have come back to a place of going to a church group because they've built trust with that group. And there's fellowship, there's connection. It's not just about the teaching. You can go to a church and that's where all your friends are. I know people that do that, and they don't even teach grace, but they're there for the people. And I thought, that's okay. Let's not overthink this. If it's toxic, sure, you probably may need to find a new place. But I tell you, let's not create new divisions or make someone else feel insignificant. I even had one person say, one day you'll grow up, you'll leave the church. It's like, wow, that really ticked me off. And it told me this person does not know my heart. Nor had they been listening to anything that I've been sharing for years. It really annoyed me, because there's a superiority, an entitlement, or an arrogance that comes out in phrases like that. When you say those words to someone else, you're setting yourself up as being more superior and having known more. How about go the other way? How about humble yourself and say, maybe there's something I don't know about your story. Maybe help me understand why the church you go to is of value to you, or why does the home group add value, or why don't you go anymore? Help me understand, so I can know you. Not about where you go. It's not about that. It's about your loving relationship with Jesus, and how does Jesus live out? I love it. Anyway, that's it. Rant's over. We'll look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday morning. If you want a church to tune into, you're welcome to tune into Hope Fellowship. Sunday mornings for Hope Fellowship is about my local community, connecting with them and those, and the community's growing. Yeah, grace leads us to love. That's right, Jim. That's right. If it doesn't look like love, it's not grace. So if you want to join in on a Sunday morning, no matter where you're located, we speak in the context to our local community, but we also recognize there are people watching from all over, and we try and include everyone as well. So we're learning how to do this online, larger church mindset. It's actually fun. I love being stretched. Until next time, you guys have a great day. Share this video. This was originally aired on Paul Gray's Grace to All podcast, and he let me reshare it. When the second one comes out, I'll share it here as well. But next week, we'll see what's going on. I think I have a great recap of another one that was previously aired, but today's is a new one. So anyway, you guys have a great week. We will catch you later.
Join me next time on Still Growing in Grace for more good news. Enjoy previous episodes by downloading our podcast at growingingrace.ca. You can also visit hopefellowshipycc.com to find our service times and location. If this show has been an encouragement to you, please consider making a donation today at growingingrace.ca and help us keep spreading this good news. Thank you again for tuning in to Still Growing in Grace.